What's going on, guys? In today's podcast, we are going to attempt to go through every week 3 game and give our take basically on all the games against the spread. Got Josh here with me again.
Hello.
So, let's just get straight into it. I'm gonna go just based on the list
down
here, top down. One of the games I'm really excited for is the Colts-Titans game. Oh, it's in Tennessee. I thought it was in Indy. So that one, obviously, the most interesting parts about that are the Carson Wentz. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I think it's a game-time decision. And then the fact that Indy is 0-2 against the Tennessee team that just came back and won that game in Seattle last week. That was huge for them considering they would both be 0-2, the teams that are, in all likelihood, still going to be one of those teams that are probably going to win this division. And they almost both started 0-2. But Tennessee has a golden opportunity here to really separate themselves in this division, even just in week 3. So that part of it's definitely going to be interesting. And Derrick Henry usually has his way against teams in his division, but the spread is Tennessee minus 5.5. Over under is 48.
Right.
What are your thoughts, Clay?
I mean, I think when Carson Wentz is going to play, it's just a matter of does he play the whole game.
Yeah. So you think he's playing? I
mean,
how do you sprain both ankles, first of all? That's pretty crazy.
I mean, it's wild. The fact that he's willing to go even with 2 sprained ankles kind of goes to his toughness. So,
right.
But with Pittman, does he have a good game today?
I think so.
Tomorrow?
I think so. I think Pittman is it just really hit me yesterday. I liked him early in the offseason process, and then I kind of just forgot about him. You know, you kind of have those guys. You just really, it's such a long offseason process, pre-fantasy draft season process that I kind of just forgot about Pittman. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, dude, they're going to pepper him with targets, in my opinion. He's just by far and away the best receiver, or other than Jonathan Taylor, he's the best skill player by far.
He had 4 targets week 1 and 12 targets last week.
Yeah. I think we're going to see much closer to what we saw in week 2 from here on, because I mean, I just feel like that makes the most. He's the kind of guy that Carson Wentz is going to target too. Like, Wentz is known to target the Alshon Jeffries a lot, the tight ends a lot, and Pittman is a big body, a guy that can still get separation, but a guy that can definitely win contested catches. And I mean, you're talking about the number 2 right now is basically Zac Pascal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
he's having pretty productive. I actually picked him up in Chalky Bets.
Yeah, I think that he may be a decent option, but I think it's far more likely that it's Pittman, Jonathan Taylor, and those are the 2 really only consistent fantasy options for the Colts. You know, moving forward. I mean, unless T.Y. Hilton comes back healthy, I always thought that. What's the deal with him in terms of? Do you know his injury status?
I'm not sure. I know he's on IR. I don't know if he's out for the whole.
I think it's a short-term IR thing, if anything.
But I think it is. And that's why he's being stashed on IR spots in fantasy leagues, because people think he's going to be back.
I mean, it makes sense. He's Yahoo doesn't even have any player updates on him. So, but they do have projection. Take this for what you will. They have projections for him in week 4. That's when they think. I guess so. That's maybe when he's going to come back. But even if he comes back, I still think that, you know, and I'm different than a lot of people in this regard. I think that those types of things, when you have a guy in addition to an offense, I think it helps in terms of efficiency, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, Michael Pittman will have weeks, I think, where he's not that efficient, but he will also have weeks where he is. And I think the presence of T.Y. Hilton will definitely help that. But anyways, I think it's a good matchup for him against the Titans secondary, you know, and just their defense overall. I don't know how they're going to get any pressure on Carson Wentz. Hopefully, at least if you're the Colts. But I also think it could be a Jonathan Taylor big game as well.
For fantasy purposes, do you think Pascal's a sneaky play this week, or
maybe
I mean, he had 2 touchdowns week 1, 1 touchdown last week.
Yeah,
he's got 5, 6 targets respectively to the first 2 games. So
6 targets each.
Well, he's got 5 and then 6.
Oh, okay.
And he's catching damn near 90% of them. So
right, I think that he's touchdown dependent, right? Because he 4 for 43 in week 1,
5 for 38 in week 2,
and 5 for 38. Yeah, so he's basically an 8 to 10 yards, 8 to 11 yards a catch kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
I have no interest in him on my roster simply because I think that, like I said, he's touchdown dependent and he's not the kind of guy that can sustain, at least when you just look at his stature, he's not a Michael Pittman type guy. You know what I mean? That can probably sustain that.
Well, I think Titans take this dub.
Do you? I think Indy wins it, man. I feel
Well, I mean, it all depends on Wentz and how healthy he is and how well he plays, and if he plays the whole game. Obviously, Derrick Henry's going to get his. So
yeah,
I honestly think that what did you say the spread was 5.5.
Yep,
they're definitely going to cover that.
You think they cover it? Wow. No, but so you think Tennessee covers 5.5? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at home, Derrick Henry is obviously Derrick Henry. He's going to have a big game. Yeah, I almost think they might win by like 10 points.
Wow, that's crazy.
Double the spread.
I like the Colts, man. I think that Indy is one of those teams where we think that they're dead, and they just have that resilience. That they're a high character
if Eason
team.
comes in, they have no shot.
I don't know about that. I like Eason, man.
Well, yeah, he's a good player, but at the end of the day,
he's a rookie, and
or
not a rookie. He's a second-year guy, but.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't have any experience really playing. I think he was 2 for 5 last week, so it wasn't like he got a ton in terms of opportunity. But yeah, I mean, I like the Colts, man. If I'm betting on this game, I'm pretty happy to take Indy plus 5.5. And then for the over/under, I don't know, man. The over/under, I could see it. I could see that going either way. I would probably lean towards the under, but I think I just naturally always lean towards the under. So. I'm going to go with Indy, though. I'll just make a prediction here. I'm going to say Indy 27-21 or 26-21.
Perfect.
Make it the under. And you're taking the Titans big, huh? Or semi-big, at least.
Yeah. We'll see, though.
Yeah. All right.
Could be a good game.
Next game is the Falcons at the Giants.
So what do you think here? Because obviously the Falcons are not playing good at all. But
yeah, they're having a rough go of it. I mean, I think they're just continue to have a rough go of it because at the end of the day,
Well, in terms of fantasy, getting down to the players, who would you rather start? Cordero Patterson or Mike Davis?
Mike Davis. And I do like Patterson, but I think Mike Davis is he's the one there, and he's also a guy that has proven he can catch the football as well. But I don't love either of those guys because I think the Giant defense is still a really good defense, even though they've had a little bit of inconsistencies so far in the 2 games this year. I think they're still a good defense, and I just think they're going to be all over Matt Ryan. I think this is going to be a Giants game. I think it's going to be a game where, and I think they need it to be that kind of game. By the way, they're 3-point favorites at home, and the over-under is 47.5. So I like, if I'm assuming Kenny Golladay plays, of course. I know he's questionable with a hip thing going on. But I like the Giants, man. I think they're
Evan Ingram might be back this week, so
Giants fans hate him so much. It's so crazy. I like him still.
I mean, he's injury prone, but I mean, that's just another option that they have.
Yeah, and he drops the football a lot. Sterling Shepard's been going off. I think that just makes it. It sets it up so nicely for if Galladay's healthy, for him to be able to. If you're going to defend him one-on-one, and A.J. Terrell is out, by the way, the corner in Atlanta. If you're going to defend Galladay one-on-one with God knows who they even have in that secondary now with Terrell out, I think he's going to win. And I think Daniel Jones has been, according to PFF, he's their 6th rated quarterback through 2 weeks. So, and that comes with a game against the Washington football team. So, and Denver. Those are 2 really good defense. I think we could have our whole opinion of the Giants changed after this game if they go out there and do what they should do, something like what Philly did against Atlanta, and they have the benefit of playing at home, unlike what Philly had in week 1. If they're able to go out there and beat up on the Falcons and dominate that game, I think our whole perception of the Giants would be totally different, because then it would allow most fans and media to look at weeks 1 and 2 and say, well, they played the undefeated Broncos, and then they played Washington in week 2 on a short week. So, and after those 2 games against really, really good defenses, Daniel Jones, who, by the way, those were his first reps with Kenny Golladay, and Saquon is working his way back into healthiness, if that's a word. But I think that we could look at this again, if they do what they're supposed to do, what they're capable of doing, because they have a significant advantage in terms of talent, in my opinion. Like they are a much more talented team, and they match up well with Atlanta on both sides of the ball.
Well, Sterling Shepard through 2 games is averaging 20.9 fantasy points.
Yeah, he's been doing his thing. He's been going crazy.
Well, week 3 over under 20 points.
I mean, I'm starting him if I have him, most likely.
Absolutely. I mean, averaging 20.9 the first 2 weeks, it's almost a must start, right?
Yeah, I think so. Until you see something
especially
different.
in PPR.
Yeah, because he's been just, like we said, peppered with targets. What does he have, 19?
You hear that,
targets?
guys? Sterling Shepard, must start.
Yeah, it's crazy. Where was he even? He was being drafted in the double-digit rounds, wasn't he? Like 11th, 10th, 11th round or something like that, 9th round?
He was definitely overlooked.
Yeah, but I still think Galladay is the top receiver there season long. And I think that, look, people are just kind of, as always, the first week or two gets magnified, you know. So Galladay, with his first ever snaps with Daniel Jones in an actual football game, not quite, you know, and plus he had 2 very difficult matchups, but he was still targeted 14 times in those first 2 weeks total. And, you know, he was close on a couple big plays. I know against Washington I saw one where he probably should have caught the ball. But I think that Shepard is going to get his. I will say under 20 points, though. And I think it's going to be a Kenny Galladay game. I really do. If he's healthy, right, then I think it's going to be Galladay. So you
got the Giants?
Yeah, I got the Giants. I think they're going to win it
Me too.
in comfortable fashion. I think it's going to be more like 24-13, something like that. Maybe 24-17, maybe 27-17. I'll go 27-17. So what would that be?
So Giants all the way.
Yeah, Giants all the way. That would be the under, by the way, as I seem to always go for it. And it's Giants covering. I like the Giants to cover. 3 points at home in a must-win game because they're 0-2. And they actually, you know, entering the season, we thought they might win the division or like they'd be able to compete for the division. So I know Giants fans are getting a bit impatient there. But, yeah, I think the Giants win it. 27-17 is my final call. You're taking the Giants too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Chargers at Chiefs. The next
Great
one.
game. Probably maybe matchup of the week.
Yeah, I can't believe that's a noon game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or noon Central Time.
I think bold pick here. I think the Chargers send the Chiefs to 1-2.
Wow. How amazing would that be? And look.
On the road in KC, that would be a huge game, especially for the Chargers.
We talked about this, I think, in the last podcast where Kansas City has been basically outplayed in each of the first 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they made more plays down the stretch against Cleveland and on both sides of the ball.
And they coughed it up, I think, twice deep in the game against Baltimore and then obviously the huge one.
Yep. Yeah, Baltimore basically chiefed the Chiefs with how they won that game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they made more plays at the end.
Yeah, I think Herbert, is it going to be a shootout? Herbert, obviously, does he have 300 yards passing?
I think he has had 300.
I guess he has to because if the Chiefs are going to be putting up points and they want to win, they're going to be slinging the rock.
Oh, yeah, and you just have to know when you play these guys at this point, like, you've got to score. You've got to score, basically. Your mindset has to be, we have to score in every possession.
Yeah,
you know?
It'll be tough with, Honey Badger on the other side, but
yeah.
Herbert, it's going to be a hell of a game.
Herbert so far has had in week 1 337 yards passing against the Washington football team. Mm-hmm. And then in week 2 against Dallas, he had 338 with 81 yards taken off the board via penalty. So he would have had over 400 in that game. Wow. He's just he's a stud.
Yeah, he is a stud. We've already gone over this.
Yeah.
We will all season, of course.
Man, can we take
And I think he's only going to get better and better as the season goes on.
I do too. I think in terms of fantasy production so far has been underwhelming just because when you 18 and 20 points basically.
Yeah.
In weeks 1 and 2. But again, Washington was a tough matchup, and then of course Dallas where he had a lot of kind of big plays taken off the board. I think that this is a much better fantasy game for him, and I just don't know if I can take them to beat the Chiefs, in Kansas City in a game that is not must win, but it's an important game.
Very important, and that's why I'm taking them. Bold pick.
Wow, I like them. I like them against the spread. I think that the +7 is. I'm pretty comfortable taking that for the Chargers. I think because if they lose, I don't see them getting beat by more than a touchdown really. So I like them in that regard. It's just really going to come down to them. We've seen their defense hold its own against this Chiefs offense more so than a lot of other teams. Like if Bosa can get after Mahomes, if they can keep Mahomes in the pocket, like you just have to do if you're going to,
It's gonna be tough. But
yeah, it's definitely going to be tough. But like we also have to remember, Kansas City, this offense in Kansas City is now, they don't have quite the depth that they used to with Sammy Watkins not being there anymore and stuff like that.
A stat that I read the other day is, or I guess I should say, Clyde was a record-setting receiving back out of LSU, and he hardly gets any work out of the backfield, which doesn't make sense because it's an Andy Reid offense. So, and coming off the fumble at the end of the game last week, I think they kind of try to get him going early.
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten touches. Like, he's gotten like 15, 16 touches, I believe it was, in the first 2 games.
Not out of the backfield and not catches. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think he was only targeted, if anything, once last year.
Which is nuts.
I mean, last week. Sorry.
Because, I mean, very productive back coming out of college, as a receiving back at least.
He wasn't targeted at all last week. And
they have to change that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't target Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce all day, every game.
Yeah.
All year.
Especially when a team like the Chargers, at least on paper, could have they could present some issues in terms of like a pass rush, right? They could be able to, they have gotten after Mahomes in the past. So I think from that standpoint, it would make sense to throw to your running back a little bit more. But I do think also that Clyde, I think the main issue there is the pass protection. I haven't really studied him as a pass protector in the NFL, but I think that if he was trusted in pass protection situations and the goal line short yardage situations, I think that would be something that it would be evidence in the workload and the usage. Like there's a reason they gave Darrell Williams the ball down there on the goal line last week,
which sucks for fantasy people.
I know. I was so high on Clyde this year, and
so was I.
I'm not ready to give up on him.
He's a third round pick,
but I'm definitely
fourth round pick at least.
Yeah, I'm not ready to give up on him, but I'm definitely a little bit scared.
I mean, you can't give up on him solely because he plays for the Chiefs, and they're going to be putting up points,
right?
And he gets a lot of the load share there. So
yep, totally. But like for me in this game, as far as who wins the game, I'm gonna take the Chiefs 31-34. I think it's a close game. I think the Chargers cover. Over. That's way over because it's over 54.5 is the over-under. So, yeah, I think they're going to score at least a combined 60, and I think the Chargers cover. I'm rooting for the Chargers to win. I would love for my guy Herbert to go in there and beat Mahomes in Kansas City in Week 3, in a game that puts them ahead and like you said, drops the Chiefs to 1-2. And what would the national media say if the Chiefs dropped to 1-2? And with the way that it's happened, like they were outplayed in Week 1, they were outplayed in Week 2, and they lost that game. And now Week 3, if they lose, it's going to be, I think, we're going to have a little tiny bit of panic, at least, is going to be from the media, not the Chiefs themselves. They're not going to give a shit. They're going to come out in Week 4 and smoke likely whoever they play in Week 4. But I think I'm rooting for the Chargers. I'm taking the Chiefs, though.
I'm taking the Chargers. You hear that, Kerry?
Let's go. All right.
Next game, Bengals-Steelers.
Bengals at Steelers. So TJ Watt is out. We just preface it with that. Also,
does the Bengals steal a game in Pittsburgh? I don't think they've actually won in Pittsburgh for like 4 or 5 years.
I feel like it's been a long time. But let's see. What's the spread in this one? Let's see. Okay, Pittsburgh -3. So TJ Watt is out. Also, Alex Highsmith, their other edge rusher, is out. So that could be a huge win for Cincy. And then on the Cincy side of it,
could be a big game for
T. Higgins is doubtful.
Yeah,
so I
did see that.
But let's see. The over/under's 43. Pittsburgh's
Joe Mixon
favorite.
Joe Mixon might have a big game.
It could be. Yeah,
on the road.
It could definitely be that.
Well, with TJ Watt out, I mean, that's a big part of their defense
for sure. Yeah, and it's at the most important position, arguably. So, but they still have some dudes there. Cam Hayward. They still have some guys up front, so it's not like.
And the Bengals D is actually, they're playing really well this year. I mean, they're giving up 19 points a game. They got 6 sacks through 2 games.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
6. I didn't know that. I know they've been doing a really good job against the run, and
with the Steelers struggling offensive line, Big Ben's obviously 90 at this point. Right, can hardly move.
It's gonna be up to Big Ben though. If they want to win this game, Ben is going to have to throw the ball because I don't think they can run at all.
Right.
against
Well,
them.
they're going to try, but I think with Deontay Johnson out, I feel like does Najee get more touches out of the backfield here as far as receiving?
I'd like to see that, or as a receiver, yeah. I think that's likely.
Well, I mean, obviously he's going to get the rushes because
But how much are they going to run? I mean, like they don't seem.
They're going to
be,
have to set the tone on the ground.
I agree, but we just don't see that from them, and especially with Cincy, the way their run defense is playing, like Najee had 16.
Does he continue to struggle on the ground?
Najee?
Yeah. Or does he? I mean,
I think he's the
third
kind of
game,
guy that needs the ball. Like you need to keep on giving him the ball, and then eventually he'll get going.
Yes.
But
yes, I think he needs to get more catches out of the backfield, get him going as a receiver, especially with Deontay Johnson out.
Yeah. He had 8.
Chase Claypool might have a big game.
I could see that. I could see Claypool.
James Washington actually could have a big game.
Yeah, they're going to need him. He's going to be the third receiver. I just have a feeling that Pittsburgh's going to come out and they're going to throw the ball. Like they're going to throw it, 65% of the time. And I'm not saying I think that that's what they should do. I don't. I think it should be much more balanced than that, 55-45 in terms of throwing a little bit more. But I think that's what I would do. I just don't think they'll do that. And because of that, since he absolutely has a chance to seal this game, it being only a 3-point. But look, Pittsburgh, another home game for the Steelers, coming off a loss. I think they're going to come out in just vintage Pittsburgh Steeler, like pissed off kind of fashion. So
this would be a big win for Burrow.
Oh, this would be one of those wins. Like I always reference the Panthers in 2015 when they were like 4-0, I believe we were 4-0, and we had played the Seahawks in every year of Russell Wilson's career, maybe even Cam's career, and no one really thought we were for real, right? Even at 4-0, it was like, yeah, they haven't played anybody. Well, we went into Seattle, and this was the Legion of Boom Seahawks, and we were losing by like 10 points in the fourth quarter, came back and won the game. Cam throws the game-winning touchdown pass to Greg Olsen, and from that point on, that catapulted us to being a legit team, for the rest of the season. And that's, I think, the kind of game that Joe Burrow and the Bengals are faced with here. They could, if they win this game in Pittsburgh, they'd go out there and it would really give them some confidence moving forward.
Absolutely.
I think it's that kind of game. Ben Roethlisberger, real quick, I just looked this up, what he did against them last year. In the first game against Cincy, the Steelers won 36-10. Yeah, I think this was the game in Pittsburgh. Ben had 333 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And then in the later game, they lost in Cincinnati, 27-17. Ben, in both games, by the way, Ben completed 55% and 52%. In that game, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. If there was a game I was going to say would be more indicative of what this matchup could look like, it would definitely be the later game because it was in Week 15, right? So that might be more of kind of what you should expect from this one. Not to say Ben can't revert back to the 300+ and 4 touchdown performance, but I just think I think it's gonna be tough. But look, in both games, Ben threw the ball. 38 and 46 times. I think he's gonna throw it 40 times in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so it really depends on, without Deontay Johnson, how good can Ben play? Yeah, and I guess we'll see, but. I
mean, Bengals definitely have a chance to steal a game here, but I think Steelers.
I think it's going to be low scoring, something like it was in that second game last year, 27-17 or 27-20, something like that. The more I think about it, even with TJ Watt out, even with Highsmith out, even with, on the offensive side, Deontay Johnson out, I don't know if Cincinnati can score more than 17 points. I don't know, man. I just feel like Pittsburgh's going to be pissed off. They know these guys. Let's see, what did Burrow do last year in these games? It's going to take me a second to find this, but this one is tough, man. I really don't know. I'm leaning towards Pittsburgh simply because I just trust them a little bit more. But
at home,
what would the feeling have been? What would the feeling have been if last week, if the Bengals beat Chicago in Chicago, which they very well could have done? It could have been. We would have been looking at the 2-0 Bengals, and we would have been thinking, hey, they're legit. You know, we would have been looking at them in a similar light that we're looking at the Panthers right now.
I'm pretty sure Mixon struggled a little bit last week. So
yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did against a good Bears front. But okay, so Burrow last year against Pittsburgh, he didn't play in the second game, which they won. So they beat Pittsburgh without Burrow. That's kind of a statement. But that was when Pittsburgh was really faltering. But in any case, they beat him without Burrow. So in the first game and only game played against the Steelers, he went 21 of 40, 52.5%, 213, 1 touchdown, 0 picks. He was sacked 4 times, just averaged 5.3 yards per pass attempt. So, you know, it's going to be tough, right? It's going to be a tough matchup for him. And again, even without TJ Watt, I just think that I trust Pittsburgh a little bit more than I trust the Bengals right now. But I really, I might put the Bengals on my potential upsets of this week because I think they could steal it.
definitely
But I'm going to take the Steelers 20-17.
Steelers.
Yeah. So that's the under, by the way. You taking the Steelers too?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Bears Browns.
Bears at Browns.
Justin Fields' first start on the road.
That's going to definitely give them a spark. I feel like the Cleveland Browns are fortunate in that I think that last year they had kind of a benefit of strength of schedule, at least early on. And again, that's happening this year.
Well, Baker's playing good this year.
Baker's playing great so far. Well, I shouldn't say they have a benefit of strength of schedule because they did play the Chiefs week 1. But now their next 2 games were last week against the Texans and now this week against the Bears. And the Bears they're defensively, they're really good. You know, my guy Kendall Vildor starting there, so I love that. But their Bears are 7.5-point underdogs in Cleveland. Over/under, and this one is 44.5. So I think that what's the most obvious and interesting matchup right off the bat, just looking at this, besides Justin Fields, is the Browns' offense into like their run game against this Bears run defense. That last week we saw them put the clamps on Joe Mixon. So I think that's definitely important. It's going to be important for Cleveland.
It's going to be tough to put the clamps on.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, especially Chubb. Just nobody does. I mean,
no one. He's an animal.
And they have such a good offensive line too that, you know, people don't realize like that offensive line is very good. But Chubb is
David Montgomery could potentially have a big game. Obviously, if they give him 30 carries a game like they have been.
I think that they will be, you know, likely to run the ball more with Fields starting.
Through 2 games, the Browns are allowing 27 points a game. So
yeah.
And Justin Fields could get off on the ground as well.
Oh yeah, I think he'll definitely run. I think he'll run 10.
And he's got a whole week to prepare and get ready.
Absolutely. And
coming in as a starter, obviously highly sought after, highly rated.
Yeah.
Rookie. I don't know. They could get it.
Definitely an upset alert game.
It is on the road, so I mean, tough test there, but
right. What I think is going to happen, and I feel pretty confident about this one, although I will say Chicago could win this game. I'm starting to trust the Browns. I'm starting to trust them.
We forgot. We haven't even mentioned yet that Odell's back.
Oh, that's right, my guy.
Odell is back and starting.
You know, Odell,
Jarvis is out.
Odell is still an elite talent. Like, regardless.
Yeah, of course.
Some people, you know, have kind of started to say that he's washed or whatever. That's not true. He's not washed. It's if he's healthy, he's elite. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And I think that at this point in Baker Mayfield's career, he is a veteran guy that is not going to be intimidated and feel like he has to force it to Odell. But I think at the same time,
I think he's going to want to try and get him going early.
Yeah.
First game back.
That would definitely be ideal.
Yeah.
Because Odell is such an emotional player and such a competitor that he is going to, I mean, if he gets going early, it'll be good for Cleveland for sure in so many ways, because if he gets going early, that means the pass game gets going early. That means you can run off of the pass, and that would be, you know, an advantage for Cleveland. I think Cleveland wins this game, but I think Chicago comes out and shows some promise offensively. I think they lose it 30-27. It's a little more higher scoring than much more than the over/under suggests at 44.5. So I like the Browns. I like the over, but I also like the Bears to cover this game.
Well, Odell, fantasy points, over or under 15?
I'm going to say over.
Same. Yeah, I think
say he's got 17 in him.
I think they're going to pepper him with targets this week. And obviously he can make people miss in the open field. So
yeah. And I think that they did the smart thing and just waited for him to be fully, what they feel like is fully healthy. So all that should bode well for Cleveland.
And then, of course, Jarvis goes down, so it's like prime spot for Odell to come in and do work.
Yeah. What's going to be interesting, though, is if Chicago can put the clamps on the Browns' run game like they did to Mixon last week, at that point, without Jarvis, like you say, will Baker be able to dice them up? And I think that secondary is beatable for sure, but I also think that it's just a good matchup all around. I think the Bears pass rush against that Browns offensive line is going to be good. But ultimately, I do think like I said, I trust the Browns, man. I trust the Cleveland Browns at home to get it done. I think Fields takes firm hold of the starting job, though, and doesn't give it back to Dalton. I think he plays well enough to justify another start, even if Dalton's ready next week. So, all right, next game is the Baltimore Ravens at the Detroit Lions. So
they're going to eat.
Have you heard, though, basically the entire front four or whatever, partially the front seven for Baltimore is out with, I'm not sure if they're close contact COVID tracing things or if they actually failed tests, but they're missing a lot of guys like Justin Houston, Jalen Ferguson, Derek Wolfe. They're missing a bunch of dudes up front. So.
I still think they're going to eat.
Probably so.
I think they win by over 21.
Wow.
I think they blow them the hell out.
Even with all that lost, they're still 7.5-point favorites.
Yeah.
Right. So the over/under in this one is 50.5. That's a little bit more than I would have anticipated, considering the Ravens are without their entire front seven or whatever it is. But man, I think that the Lions have showed us that so far, even though they were down 38-10 in week 1 to the 49ers, they showed us that they're not going to quit, right? They had the lead in Green Bay at halftime, 17-14. Goff is a legitimately good starting quarterback, an average starter.
And Baltimore's given up a lot of fantasy points.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I think Goff's like leading the NFL in pass attempts so far. So, I mean, that's obviously a part of game flow as well. But, I mean, Jared Goff without Sean McVay, right? Because everybody said he had to have Sean McVay or he was going to look like the rookie season Jared Goff. That's not true. He's completing almost 69% of his passes for. He's averaging nearly 300 yards a game, and he's got 5 touchdowns. What I've also been impressed with was his wheels, bro. He was able to run a little bit last week, 4 for 46. Jared Goff, even Aaron Rodgers got a kick out of one of his huge runs, and Rodgers was cracking up, kind of slapped him on the helmet, like, "Whoa, Jared, you're getting
easy,
getting a little faster, yeah, easy there." Nobody's gonna confuse him for Lamar Jackson, but he's been able to move around a little bit better than you might expect so far this year.
Does DeAndre Swift have a big game fantasy-wise this week?
I think that the path for his success this week, and I was just looking at my lineup in terms of if I should start him or if I should start him in our league, him or Miles Sanders.
I think Miles Sanders is a must-start this week.
I think that DeAndre Swift is a must-start considering the Ravens are without so many guys up front, and then Swift was like, we were waiting for him to get, he wasn't fully healthy all season long. So, and he's still, I see it right here, he's questionable for week 3. But from what I'm understanding is he should be, in the next few weeks, he should be up to 100%, just like that's the timeline for his recovery or whatever. So I still think we've seen that he can still play right now. Last week was incredibly disappointing. I thought that was a prime breakout spot for him. And like you mentioned the other day, he caught that long pass towards the end, but it was, an underwhelming week 2 performance by him. But in week 1, he had 19 touches for over 100 yards and a touchdown. So that was, 11 targets. So that was great. But in this game, I think that the path for success for him is to, well, obviously, first and foremost, maybe they can play a close game, and maybe that, is because they're able to run the ball against the depleted Baltimore front. Definitely possible. Also, if Baltimore blows them out, then I think Swift could see that 11-target game he had in week 1, because they were down 38-10 in that game when he really started to kind of get going.
Yeah, and I would say they're going to be down, so.
Yeah,
DeAndre
I think that's
Swift
likely. I think that Lamar
big week.
has a ton of confidence right now.
Oh, of course.
So
he's eating.
Even if there was a week for Baltimore where you would say, hey, let's pick a game on our schedule where we're going to be without so many guys up front, I think it would probably be this game, because Detroit's not a team that has a ton of ways to to hurt you offensively. Like they don't.
Right.
They're kind of limited. They have Hawkinson, and they've got 2 good running backs, and they have some decent, receivers. Like they've got like 3 number 3 receivers, types. So,
well, Quintez Cephas.
I like him.
Yeah, he's a big waiver pickup this week. How does he fare?
Yeah, I think he's the flex option moving forward. I think that's kind of just.
I mean, he's averaging 14.25 fantasy points through the first 2 games, but he's also touchdown dependent.
Yeah, yeah. If he doesn't score, it looks different for sure. Ultimately, I think Baltimore handles business. Baltimore is the type of team, just historically speaking, when they are supposed to win big, they usually do. They don't have those letdown performances, and so I think they win the game.
Coming off the win last week against the Chiefs,
right?
Feeling great.
They're confident. They feel good. I think they win 30-20. So I think they cover, and then that is a under by a half a point actually. So very close to the over, but not quite there. So, and I feel good about that. I think that I think Baltimore's probably up 30-13, and then the Lions score another touchdown just because they won't quit.
Yeah,
that's the kind of.
I got them blowing them out. Ravens.
Yeah,
all day.
Okay. All right, next game.
Saints Patriots.
Ooh, Saints Patriots, and that's the 1:00 game as well. Yeah. Okay. Damn, this is gonna be fun. Belichick versus Jameis Winston. You could think like, what? And I see a lot of people already talking about this on Twitter. How many picks does Jameis throw? Over under.
That's good. I was gonna say though, does he have a bounce back game on the road, or is it?
That could absolutely.
They're
be.
Obviously, I think. I don't know. I think they're gonna be coming from behind most of the game.
Yeah.
So he's gonna be throwing it all over the place. So yeah, he could have, very well have 15 interceptions.
I could see both both offenses having a hard time scoring, because the Saints defense is still very good.
Yeah, no, they're only allowing 219 pass yards per game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and Mac Jones is averaging around 233 right now. So,
yeah, I think it's going to be another Mac Jones like where he has no more than 1 touchdown. I think that's basically he's going to have 1 or 0 touchdowns in my opinion.
But they could get absolutely annihilated if Jameis plays like he did last week.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. But I think this is the new Jameis. I think last week they ran into a very bad matchup at a very bad time in Carolina on the road there.
But the Patriots defense is always going to play up to par. Yeah. I mean, they're well coached, well disciplined. Yeah. So
I think when you look at the Patriots defense so far,
and if they get after Jameis, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
Long day.
And last week, Jameis was under a ton of pressure in Carolina.
Kamara's obviously has to have a bounce-back game.
The Patriots have allowed 23 points through 2 weeks. So that's, 11.5 points a game. They're pretty vicious, and obviously they made Zach Wilson look like the rookie that he is. Dude, I feel bad for Jets fans watching that performance last week in New York. It's like they're trying to have something to get excited about, and Zach Wilson goes out there and gets completely dominated. But like the Patriots last year, and I always mention this, right? Like the people like to make so much about pressures. Well, the Patriots were one of the teams that I think was at least top 7 in pressure rate. Like they got pressure on opposing quarterbacks, but they were bottom 5, bottom 7 in sacks. Now they've got a guy like Matt Judon. They've got some guys up front that, and they've got their linebacker back, Hightower. They've got some players now on defense that they added through free agency that I think are converting those pressures into sacks, because so far they have 6 sacks on the season. They had 4 last week against the Jets. Jameis was under a ton of pressure against the Panthers last week, and then even like the week before, the Packers didn't really have a chance to rush Jameis. So I'd like to see what the Saints' offensive line looks like this week. Maybe it was just a wrong place, wrong time with all the missing coaches and stuff like that last week in Carolina. But ultimately, man, I think the Patriots win this game, and I'm gonna say it's a 23-20 game. So that's the over by a half a point, and that's a push in terms of like if the Patriots were to cover. They're 3-point favorites at home, so that's basically a pick 'em in terms of Vegas odds.
Does Callaway finally have a breakout game this week, or is it he's still going? Yeah,
I think it's a bad matchup for him again. He's had 3 bad matchups in a row to start the season, so I wouldn't necessarily give up on him, but I think you could, if you need to, drop him and then pick him up next week after waivers, because I don't think he'll do much. I don't think he'll do much in this game.
Marquez Callaway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can drop him and then just pick him up on Wednesday after waivers or whatever next week. So, yeah, I'll take Patriots, though. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Patriots. All right. Moving
at
on.
home, I mean,
yeah,
Patriots.
At home, and Mac Jones just isn't going to make any real detrimental mistakes. And I think the Patriots offensive line also can protect him enough to where they're able to survive in that regard. And I think they're going to stay committed to the run because that's what they do. All right, this one I'm pumped about. Cardinals at Jaguars. I am really interested to see because we never got to see this. How does Trevor Lawrence respond after getting his ass beat 2 weeks in a row?
I don't know. I mean, he's averaging what, 50% completion percentage right now.
Last week, I think he averaged 3.5 yards per pass attempt. Or something
yeah,
like
I think he continues to struggle here. To be honest.
So if that's the case,
Kyler Murray is the start of the week for me this week against the Jags.
Yeah, I definitely like that.
He's gonna continue to run around like a little freaking rat bullet and make people miss all over the place.
Yeah.
And but D-Hop is a game time decision.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play.
So, I mean, obviously, but we can't write him out yet because last year we saw this plenty of times where he didn't practice all week, game time decision, and he went out there and played. So, but if he doesn't play, Rondale Moore is getting off. He's a must start if D-Hop is out of this game, 100%.
That's probably true, especially if you spent the money or the waiver spot, to add Rondale Moore this waiver cycle, you have to start him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I guess especially if D-Hop sits, you absolutely have to start him.
Yes.
So Lawrence last week, by the way, had a 37.2 quarterback rating, completed 3.6 yards per pass attempt, and 42.4% completion percentage. So that is rough. He had 118 passing yards, but he went right down the field in his opening possession and scored a touchdown and had like 50. He had literally damn near half of his passing yards on the opening drive. And after that, it was just nothing. Like nothing. They had 6 points the rest of the game. It's rough. That's rough. So the Cardinals defense is one that has shown us two different sides of their personality disorder so far. They went out in week 1 and completely just overwhelmed the Titans. 6 sacks. I think most of them by Chandler Jones. I think he had 5 sacks, or maybe he had all 6. I don't know, but he was completely dominant, and they were just all over Tannehill, only allowed 13 points. And then last week against the Vikings in Arizona, they allow 30 points. Cousins does whatever he wants, as Cousins seems to do even in losses.
Yeah, they need to get I think the Jags need to get the run game going this week.
They have to, man.
Have to. Like you said before, Trevor's got to start running himself.
He has to start running.
He needs to get in that kind of rhythm. That'll help them move the ball more down the field, and it'll open things up more for him to pass.
I think Trevor Lawrence, I have confidence in him in one way. I think he's got a high character. So I think even if he's a bust long-term, which I'm not saying he is, but even if he is, I think he comes out in this game and gives his absolute best effort.
He's got to.
I think that he doesn't want to keep getting his ass just smoked. They got beat up by the Texans in week 1, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like anybody expected anything from them. That was a perfect matchup for Lawrence to come out there and take the league by storm and have a really good week 1. But he got stomped in that game. It was, he threw for 330 and I get all that, but he really didn't play well. He threw 3 interceptions, averaged under 7 yards an attempt. And
what do you think about Chase Edmonds?
I like him, man. I think
a good game.
I think especially if DeAndre Hopkins doesn't play. To me, Chase Edmonds is probably one of the bigger values in DFS this week. And yeah, man, I like him a lot. I think he's gonna catch 5 or 6 passes too, especially if D-Hop doesn't play.
Yeah. I think obviously we're both going Cardinals in this game.
Yeah, there's nothing in me that wants to pick the Jaguars to win it. I would like to see Trevor bounce back and get a win like that. But so they're in Jacksonville. The Cardinals are 7.5-point favorites, over under 51.5. So I'm gonna say Cardinals win a game. I just have a feeling D-Hop is not going to play. And because of that, I'm going to say the Cardinals score 27, Jacksonville scores 17. So that's the under, and the Cardinals cover.
Yeah, I got the Cardinals all day.
Okay, cool. All right, Washington at Buffalo. Sean McDermott against Ron Rivera. So student versus teacher, if you will, that kind of matchup. You guys don't know, Sean McDermott was the defensive coordinator in Carolina, and that's the first guy Ron Rivera hired to be his defensive coordinator there. Obviously had a ton of success there. Ends up getting, after the Super Bowl year, I believe it was, or maybe it was after the year after the Super Bowl where they lost in the Super Bowl. I know, but they went. Then after 2016, he got hired by Buffalo and has been to the playoffs in 2 of the 3 years, I believe, since, right? It's been 3 years, 17, 18, 19, or was it 4? I don't know.
Since when?
Since he got hired by Buffalo. I think he was there in 2017, so 17, 18, 19, 20. So playoffs.
It'll be his 5th year.
Yeah. So anyways, he's been there for a few years now. It's going to be a good game to watch. I think that, again, and I've mentioned this a million times.
Well, Josh Allen obviously needs to be better.
He hasn't been very good so far this year.
It's got to be better.
Yeah, and a big part of that, again, as you guys have heard me say 1,000 times at this point, is that they don't have any balance offensive. They don't have an identity. You know, that's the main thing. If you are a team, right, that...
Especially, coming in the season, there was a Super Bowl favorite team.
Right, they were, yeah. And they still might be that kind of team, that they really could be. Because the defense, by the way, is very much looking like pre-2020 form.
Right.
Like they got Starr back, they've drafted Gregory Rousseau, all that kind of stuff. They've been able to get pressure, they've been able to stop the run. They're top 7 in basically every statistical category I was looking at the other day. And against the run, against the pass, they're getting sacks. They're second in the NFL in sacks. What they're doing defensively right now is very impressive, but I don't think they have an identity in that they want to throw it 40 plus times a game, right? They threw it 51 times in week 1 in a game that they were winning the entire first 3 quarters. They were basically winning the game, and just for some reason airing it out and just dropping back to I don't understand. I think you need to have more of an identity. You need to, it's okay for Josh Allen to have a running game, support him to an extent, right?
Mm-hmm.
To at least just have the help of a running game. Stafford's got that in L.A., and Stafford is still going to be an MVP candidate. Kyler Murray's got that in Arizona. What they're doing with Edmonds and James Conner, it's a balanced attack, and the biggest part about offensive football is being unpredictable.
Right.
So you don't want to just drop back and pass. Especially, that's exactly what Ron Rivera wants you to do. He's hoping to God they come out there and just drop back, and especially don't even play action. Just drop back to pass every time. You're gonna get eaten up, right? But, Allen has completed under 60% of his passes in each of the first 2 games.
Well, through the first 2 games, Washington front line has really been struggling.
Have they?
Yeah, they have. And
they haven't been
getting after.
I still think they are every bit what we thought they were.
Right, of course. But they just need to start playing better, start getting after the quarterback. Do they get to Allen?
Yeah. Also, I just saw this. Josh Allen hasn't even he's averaging 5.3 yards per pass attempt in week 1, 5.4 yards a pass in week 2. So he's been, it's been nothing spectacular.
Yeah.
Nothing spectacular. So
Chase Young's been underwhelming through the first 2 games. So potentially he could get it going, obviously.
Yeah.
And if he does, it's gonna be a long day for Allen. But obviously, he's just got to play better.
Yeah, this is a bit of a get-right game for the Washington pass rush, because if the Bills go out there and just say, we're just going to go out there and pass every play essentially, or pass 70% of the time without, any real threat of the run, I think the Washington could have one of those blow-up games that I think that game is eventually coming for that defense, where they have 5 or 6 sacks and they just completely dominate someone. So if you're not careful, Buffalo, that could happen to you in this game, right? But I also think on the flip side of it, I think the Bills' defense is going to make it very difficult for this Washington offense to score. By the way, the Bills are 7-point favorites. Over-under this one is 45.5. So, to me, I think that Heineke's going to have a very hard time moving the football, or at least scoring points. I don't think he's going to make a ton of mistakes, and I think that's, the biggest kind of strength to his game. But ultimately, man, I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills to win this game. I think Sean McDermott ultimately knows Ron Rivera very well, and I think he knows he will be playing into his hands if he didn't come out with some more balance. So I think they do that. I think they win this one 27-20, and that is the over, and it's a push in terms of like Buffalo covering or not. So that's my take. Who you got in this one?
I had the Bills.
Bills winning it?
All the way.
Yeah. I could definitely see Washington steal that game, though, just to be clear. All right, Jets at Broncos we've got, and that's the 4 o'clock. I think it's the first 4 o'clock game.
I think this is a lock. for the
win.
Broncos. Yeah.
It's not gonna
without
be an
Drew
easy
Lock.
Jets are 10.5-point underdogs. Over under in this one is 41.5. So what does that tell you? That tells you that Vegas has no real confidence that Zach Wilson can score any points. Because
especially in Mile High. I mean, on the road.
Right. That's true. And Denver's one of those teams, I believe. Yeah, they played both of their first 2 games on the road. So this is an undefeated team, 2-0,
right,
making their home debut. You know what I mean? Teddy hasn't thrown an interception. He's been he's got 77% completion percentage.
He's averaging almost 300 yards a game, 4 touchdowns through the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's averaging 296 a game, 8.5 yards per attempt. He's been balling, man. He's having a really good.
Jets D only has 4 sacks, 0 picks. Do they get blown out? Probably.
Yep, I think that I think the Broncos pretty much cruise in this game. I just think it's a tough matchup. But like I said about Trevor Lawrence, I'll say the same thing about Zach Wilson in this game. I think he comes out and we see some improvement from him. I think he bounces back to a certain level in this game. I don't think it's one of those games either where he comes out and he doesn't do shit for 3 quarters and he looks good at the end. I think he comes out. I could even see the Jets going down, scoring an early touchdown or getting a field goal on the first drive and some confidence going, and then ultimately Denver pulling away. That's kind of how I view this one. I'll take the Broncos 24-13 for the Jets.
Fantasy-wise, Cortland Sutton had only 3 targets week 1, came back and had 12 targets
and
last
what was
week.
The difference? Jerry Jeudy
monster
didn't play
game.
week 2.
Yeah.
Jerry Jeudy was out, so
and I think he has another big game. I think he's a must start.
I think it's a good matchup for him. I do. I agree with you there. I think Teddy cools off a little bit. I think he's got about 220 passing yards, something like that. This game, I don't know. I don't think he's in the
first home game of the season, dude. He's averaging 300 on the road.
Yeah, but I think the Jets defense is better than we think. I think
the Jets who we think they are.
You think so?
I think they're bad.
Their run defense is decent. But what was it? I was trying to look at that because I want to see. I think Denver is going to be. I think this is more of a Javonte Williams fantasy week. I really do. I think Javonte has 17 plus touches in this game, and I think he goes over 100 yards and scores a touchdown. I think Javonte has a big game. Let's see.
So if you have in fantasy, if you have Javonte, you're starting him.
Oh, absolutely. And I do have him, and I'm definitely starting him.
Plugging him in.
Yep. Denver, by the way, is the 4th best run defense in the NFL in terms of yards per game. Yeah. So it's gonna be a
long day for the Jets.
It's another tough matchup for Zach Wilson, and I hope Jets fans are, patient with him because I think that he's gonna need to get some momentum going, and he's got to stop playing these freaking, these really good defenses. Yeah. So it's been tough go over. Like if you think about it, the Panthers in week 1, the Patriots in week 2, and the Broncos in week 3, they could all be top 5 defenses. And that's Zach Wilson's first 3 games. It's not like, no disrespect to Trevor Lawrence, but he played Houston in week 1, right? He had an opportunity there to come out and right now the Broncos are top 5 against the run and the pass, right? The Patriots are 6th against the pass. But anyways, yeah, I think Denver handles them up, but I do think the Jets come out and make it interesting for the first half, and
right.
And eventually,
I think it's a lock for that. Obviously,
yeah,
Denver takes it.
I do too. Ultimately, but I think it's competitive for a little while. All right, now let's see where we at.
Dolphins Raiders.
Yep, Dolphins Raiders. Okay,
they're red hot.
The red
Derek
hot
Carr
Raiders. Yeah.
Raiders.
That's so cool.
Almost call them the Oakland Raiders.
I know it's weird to call them the Vegas Raiders. It just feels weird. But they are 4-point favorites in Vegas. Over under in this one is 44. And I think that means more of what Vegas thinks about the Dolphin offense than it does about what they think about the Raiders, offense. But
does Henry Ruggs get off? Are you starting him in fantasy?
I don't think I'm starting him simply because I have some other options.
Darren Waller's obviously going to get his.
Yeah.
Potentially, Henry Ruggs could have a big game.
Yeah, I definitely think he could. It's just a difficult matchup when you think about the corners from Miami against Ruggs, That one, I think you're right. This is a Darren Waller game. I think this is also a Kenyon Drake game in terms of, Drake's going to catch 5 or 6 passes.
Josh Jacobs Is he out?
I don't know.
Doubtful.
Doubtful. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Josh Jacobs doubtful versus Dolphins.
Wow. Yeah. So he's that's out in my mind.
Incognito's out again.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this one is tricky because I don't think Tua's playing, is he?
No, he's out.
Yeah. So, and I didn't think so because I think he's got a broken rib, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's out.
Yeah. So.
And they're in Vegas. I mean,
fractured ribs, plural. So he's out for. I mean, he's got multiple. It sounds like ribs that are broken.
Well, since Derek Carr is red hot right now, if you have him and Herbert, who are you starting? Herbert or Carr?
I'm starting Herbert because I think that defense in Kansas City has been very much beatable.
Mm-hmm.
And like Miami, they only allowed 17 points in week 1. And yeah, they allowed 35 against the Bills, but ultimately I think they played better than that. Like they were able to really make things very difficult for Josh Allen,
Right.
So I still think the Dolphin defense is good. And I think Miami, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they start 0-2 last year as well? So they've been here before, and they did. I remember they lost in week 2 to Buffalo. So they started 0-2 last year, then they went to Jacksonville and beat up on them. I could see this, and I'm probably going to have to put Miami on one of my upsets, like of potential upsets. Not that I think they're going to win. I mean, I may not even pick them here, but I think it's a possibility. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to pick them. I'm going to pick the Raiders. I'm going to pick the Raiders to win this game, though, 26-20. I got the Raiders. So that's a Raiders cover, and that's the over by 2 points there. But I am going to give Miami the respect to say, hey, they could win this game. Very well could, because they're going to come out in a way that's desperate. 0-2 Dolphins against the 2-0 Raiders. Like, you don't want to drop to 0-3.
Mm-hmm.
The chances of you making the playoffs after an 0-3 start are very slim.
Yeah. What about so fantasy wise, Bryan Edwards? You starting him?
No, I'm not starting him because
he's got 7 receptions for 121. I'm pretty sure he had a TD called back last week. He's averaging 17.3 yards a catch. He could potentially get off.
He could. I just think it's a tough matchup for him. You know what I mean? That like Miami, I respect these Dolphins in terms of like their corners and their pass defense overall. Like I think that this is going to be a game where Derek Carr, in my opinion, reverts back to Derek check down. You know what I mean? Where it's like Waller.
I don't even know if they'll allow him to do that.
Yeah,
I think they're just gonna. I think he's just gonna keep playing red hot like he has been. To be honest, at home.
I mean, it definitely could happen, but in my opinion, we've seen. Well,
Gruden has a lot of confidence in him.
Yeah,
Josh Jacobs being out hurts.
The dude's basically averaging 400 yards a game right now passing.
Yeah, it's wild.
He's the 7th overall fantasy player, by the way,
Mm.
and he finally got picked up in our league. I wasn't gonna pick him up because I just.
Well, who's your quarterback?
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah,
and
you like to play the quarterback carousel.
I got Trey Lance on the bench too, just waiting in the wings. But I think Stafford's gonna be my guy all year, unless Lance comes in and starts lighting it up. Then I trade Stafford. That's kind of my thought process on that. But to me, I feel like what we've seen from Derek Carr over his career is far more likely that that's just who he is in terms of like he'll have these blow up games, but I don't think he's going to revert. Like we've also seen MVP caliber Derek Carr that one year,
Yeah.
And then we saw him revert right back to like a good quarterback, but not this dynamic player. So,
I got the Raiders.
Yeah.
In this one.
Yeah,
especially
I like
with
the Raiders
Tua
too.
out.
I think I said 26-20. I'll stick with that. All right, Seahawks at Vikings. So I feel like these two teams play like every year, and
The 0-2 Vikings. Do they get their first win?
the 0-2 Vikings with Mike Zimmer
At home?
are going to be desperate. They're going to be desperate.
So
'cause
desperate.
I believe they started 0-3 last year as well.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, they are 1.5 point underdogs at home, which is interesting, right? Because normally the home team gets 3 points. So I guess this means that basically Seattle would be a 4.5 point favorite if this were in Seattle. Over-under's 55, so they think points are going to happen. I really thought this Minnesota defense would be a lot better this year, and They really haven't. They've allowed 60 points over the first 2 weeks, so they're allowing, or basically 60 points. So they're allowing 30 a game, but they have gotten after quarterbacks, 8 sacks in the first two games. So that is good, right? And Russell Wilson, we know, can be sacked. He's a guy that likes to hold the football, and his offensive line isn't necessarily the greatest in terms of pass protection. But Minnesota's gonna come out very desperate. So I think that, but also Seattle got beat last week, right? They were ahead the whole game, and they ended up losing that game towards the end in overtime there against Tennessee. So it's going to be interesting. I think that Dalvin Cook's questionable as well, so I'm not sure if he'll play. And honestly, I would just hold him out in this game because I think it's going to have to be a Kirk Cousins game, seeing that Seattle's a pretty damn good run defense, right? So to me, it's going to have to be a Kirk Cousins game. I think maybe a little bit more short to, quick game in the passing game as well, because Seattle can heat you up in terms of getting their pass rush going or whatever. So from that standpoint, I think
Has he practiced at all this week, Cook?
I don't think so. But he's still just questionable.
Mm-hmm.
At least last time I checked, he was questionable. So let's see. Seattle had 3 sacks in week 1, 3 sacks in week 2. Yeah, they're gonna get some pressure on him, right? I think Seattle is going to get some pressure, but Minnesota might be feeling like, hey, we finally get to play you in Minnesota, and we're 0-2. We know how to beat you. We were very close in previous years. It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good game. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Very entertaining game, in my opinion.
Yeah, so. I think Russell Wilson has a big game this week.
Yeah,
I think he doesn't struggle at all against Minnesota's secondary.
I don't think so either. That's the problem.
I mean, and it's Russ.
Yeah,
Russ cooks.
Russ does cook. I mean, he had 343 last week against the Titans.
I think it's gonna be a very close game though.
I do too.
I think it's gonna be a 3-point win for whoever. I don't even know. I don't know. I'm gonna go Seahawks.
Me too. I think this game comes down to who do I trust more, and I have to trust Seattle more, especially coming off a loss. I don't know.
What's the spread? 3?
1.5.
1.5. Yeah,
Seattle's
I think
1.5.
Seattle covers.
I think it's 33-30.
I think they win 34-31.
Okay, yeah. So we both like the over and the Seahawks to cover.
Mm-hmm.
All right, where are we at now?
Bucks Rams.
Ooh, that's gonna be fun. Bucks Rams is the one that
matchup of the week. I said Chargers Chiefs was also matchup of the week. This is a close one.
The good thing is the Chargers Chiefs game is the 1:00 Eastern, and then this one's the 4:25. So that should be awesome. But yeah, man, this one, Tom Brady. We were just watching before the podcast started an interview with Brady.
Could this be an NFC Championship game preview?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it absolutely could be.
Mm-hmm.
We were watching Brady saying that his family and friends and stuff like that are coming to LA to watch this game because they live in that area. Whatever, his niece goes to UCLA.
TB12's first game in LA.
Yeah,
ever.
And it's basically in a low-key primetime slot at the 4:25. Probably, I'm assuming it's gonna be Troy Aikman and them, Joe Buck calling the game.
First road game.
All
the way across the country.
First road game for Tampa. It's true. 1.5-point favorites are the Buccaneers, and the over/under in this one is 55.5. So, I think that Matthew Stafford is gonna come out extra freaking amped.
He's gonna be fired up.
If
he can come in here and take this game from Tom Brady, the GOAT. I mean, that's a lot of confidence going forward for the Rams. And Darrell Henderson is probably going to be out. I think he's questionable.
Okay.
So Sony Michel
is not going to be able to run for shit. I've been saying all week.
You start him in fantasy?
Nope. I just
not even with Henderson out?
Here's the thing. He's a guy that is
Sony
not
Michel.
Going to catch passes. And all, really, so it's the Buccaneers, bro. That defense, you saw what Dallas did. Dallas basically said, we don't want any part of trying to run the ball against you guys. We're just going to throw it 50 times or whatever it was and have Dak go for 400+. I think the Rams have an offense in terms of skill players a lot like Dallas in that they're going to like how they match up with that Buccaneers secondary at receiver versus corner a whole lot more than they like the idea of running Sony Michel into that brick wall that is their defensive line there in Tampa. Now, I think they'll be more balanced than what we saw from Dallas in week 1, but because I don't think Sean McVay doesn't necessarily like to just, throw it 50. He's not doing what the Bills are doing right now. He doesn't like doing that. He likes to have a little more balance. So I think Sony, if Henderson is out, which he'll be a game time call, Darrell Henderson. So I think they'll run. He'll probably get if Sony plays and he's the lead guy with Henderson, I think he'll get 13 carries or something like that. And he'll probably get 13 for like 36 yards, somewhere in that range. So ultimately, I think it's going to come down to Stafford. Like, can you outscore Tom Brady?
Yeah. But also, Aaron Donald's going to be fired up to get after Tom Brady.
Yeah. And the Rams beat
I think they're going to bring in the blitz a lot, which could hurt them. But also, if they get to Tom Brady, I mean, it could be a hell of a game. It's obviously going to be a hell of a game. It's going to be a close game.
Yep.
I still think the Bucs take it. I think they covered the spread, obviously. I don't know. I have them.
Hey, this just in. The Dolphins are placing Tua Tagovailoa on injured reserve, meaning he'll miss 3 games, at least, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
The hope is he can return from broken ribs at some point, but it's Jacoby Brissett's show for the next 3 games. And
yikes.
I think that was Ian Rappaport that tweeted that out. But yeah, so let's see. What's Antonio Brown's status? Is he playing? Expects to miss week 3. Okay, so no AB.
Wow.
So that means Scotty Miller and or Tyler Johnson and or Jalen Darden is gonna have to step up and be that third guy.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Brady has 9 touchdown passes in the first 2 weeks, by the way. So
big games for Mike Evans and Chris Godwin this week.
Yeah, I think. And here's the thing: I think the Jalen Ramsey will probably cover Mike Evans.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if that does happen, he eliminates Mike Evans in terms of like any real.
Yeah, but does he? Do they switch him across the field? I mean, will he cover Godwin at all?
He could, yeah. That definitely is
if
possible.
Godwin starts to get off.
Mm-hmm. So and maybe that'll go back to Evans. I think, who did he cover last year? Did he cover?
What about Gronk? Does Gronk keep up the production? I mean, he's got 4 touchdowns in the first 2 games.
With AB out, Gronk could definitely be. I think Gronk has like 5 for 50 or something like that in this game.
Does he score again?
I don't think so.
I mean, I think he will. I just know that Tom Brady's gonna pepper him, especially in the red zone.
Does Brady throw at least 3 touchdowns?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think so too. Like, he's got 9 in the first 2 games, so it's hard to say he can't throw 3. Let's see. The Rams defense in the first 2 weeks, they allowed 14 points, and then last week at Indy, they allowed 24. So they're under 20 points a game in terms of what they're allowing. And they had 3 sacks last week on the Colts, and then 3 sacks against the Bears the week before. So they're gonna be good. They're gonna be scrappy.
Mm-hmm.
I think this game is a 30-27
Buccaneers. That was my
really
30-27 Bucs.
30-27. So that's the Bucs covering in the over.
Yeah.
So you got the same thing then.
Yes, for sure.
All right.
Glad we're on the same page.
It's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a lot of fun. All right, we got the
Sunday night game.
Packers Niners in San Francisco.
I think this is upset of the week.
I think this is the Trey Sermon coming out party.
I don't know. I think I'm going with the Pack.
You like the Packers in this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I mean, just after last week, they re-rounded, played super well, obviously.
Against the Lions. They did what they were supposed to do,
right,
at least in the second half.
And the 49ers got good D, but their run game, I mean, they're just not healthy.
Yeah,
but
I
Trey
think
Sermon's back this week, so he could potentially have a big game. I don't know. We'll see.
I think that this 49er defense, I know last year, I believe, I'm checking right now, I think last year they got blown out by Green Bay, if I recall correctly. Let me see if I'm crazy about that.
When?
Last year. Green Bay won 34-17 in San Francisco last year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this year it's in, where's this game at? It's in San Francisco again?
Well, it's in San Jose.
Whatever. No, Santa Clara.
Santa Clara.
Yeah.
I mean, same difference.
The game, or the stadium that I watched my Panthers lose the Super Bowl at.
Yeah.
That was devastating.
It's unfortunate.
But let's see. Yeah, so I like the Niners, man. I think the Niners steal this game. I think that they come out and they run the football at will. I think Trey Sermon has a coming out party. I think that look, last year the Rodgers, in order for them to beat the 49ers and a depleted 49er defense, Rodgers completed almost 81% of his passes, went for over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks, was sacked just once, averaged 9.8 yards a pass attempt. I think this year, here's the problem. No Zadarius Smith, and the pass rush for Green Bay has looked non-existent.
Yeah.
If you can't rush the passer, right, and you can't stop the run.
Yeah, but is Garoppolo, is he going to make that many big plays on Sunday night?
I don't know if he'll necessarily need to, but I think he'll make I think the 49ers are going to come out so ready to play in this game, ready to show people that they are for real, because the first 2 games, right, they haven't exactly looked like they haven't been tested in a way where you're like, oh, wow, how good are the 49ers? But they're quietly 0-2. They won both of those games on the road. They're now making their home opener against a real team, right? So you're like, hey, if there was ever a chance, like we were just in the Super Bowl, we beat the shit out of this team twice that season, didn't they? I think they beat them twice that year. Definitely smoked them in the playoffs in the NFC Championship game. And I think that they're a bad matchup for Green Bay. I think last year Green Bay caught them on their best day, meaning the Packers' best day, where Rodgers, again, 80+% completion, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. And they were a banged-up Niners team. I don't even think they had Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
So I think the Niners make a statement with this win. I think they eke out a win. And when I look at this,
so you're going Niners.
I'm going Niners. Green Bay is allowing the 4th most rush yards per game. You bring that shit into Kyle Shanahan's house.
Yeah, but they got no run game right now.
They will. They have a run game. They just haven't been given their best player the ball, and that's Trey Sermon. So to me, the 49ers steal this game. They're actually 3-point
So you
favorites.
think you in fantasy wise, you think Trey Sermon has a big game?
Yep.
You start him?
I think he's a DFS kind of start for me. You know what I mean? Or if you're into best ball.
Well, on the other side of the ball, MVS had a tough start to the season. Obviously, I think Rodgers overthrew him on a couple deep balls last week. Does he get it together this week, or is it just a Davonte Adams, Aaron Jones show out like it always is?
Yeah, I think that I'm definitely not starting him. MVS, that is. He put up a donut last week, and then the week before he caught 3 of 8 targets, and that was against the Saints, obviously, where they got smoked. But to me, I like this San Francisco defense, man. I think they're going to make a statement. Well, so I'm not really into starting. I mean, obviously, if you have Aaron Jones, you're starting him. If you have Aaron Rodgers, you're starting him. But yeah, I think the Niners win this game. I'm going to say 27-23. Niners win. They cover, they win, and then that's the under by a half a point.
I'm taking the Pack.
You like the Pack?
27-24.
I could totally see that too. It's
gonna be a close game, and it could be Niners 27-24. Honestly,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I think it's close. I think I could also see the Niners blow them the fuck out. I really could. I could see
possibly. I mean, you saw the Saints do it,
or like 30.
Why can't the Niners do it?
Let me change it. I'm gonna say 30-20 Niners. 30-20. San Francisco wins.
Wow. Okay.
All right, let's talk Monday Night Football before we get out of here. Eagles at the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites. Over under is 51.5. So that is going to be a pretty good Monday Night Football game. I mean, the
biggest rivalry of the week.
Yeah. Did Jalen Hurts play the Cowboys last year? I'm going back to look real quick. I don't know if one of his couple of starts was against Dallas. I can't remember. Let's see.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was, and they lost.
I think they're gonna.
37-17.
I think it's gonna be. I don't know. Will it be a shootout? They're gonna duel. They're gonna have to duel. I mean, Prescott is gonna throw all over the place.
37-30.
Was last year?
Dallas. No, this year. I'm making a prediction.
Making a prediction.
I think it's 37-30. Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there because I had a kind of a strong feeling come over me there. But I think it's going to be a shootout. I think Jalen Hurts has a big game. I think he's got 280 yards passing and then another 70, 80 yards rushing. I think he has a big game, in that regard.
I'm taking the Cowboys. I mean,
I love the over in this game.
It's at Dallas.
Yeah. I like the Cowboys too.
I mean, fantasy-wise, Dak Prescott's going to get off. CeeDee Lamb's going to get off.
Yeah.
Here, back to the running backs, Zeke and Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard's for sure a flex this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you have Tony Pollard, you're playing him.
You know,
I don't give a shit if you still have Zeke in your RB2, RB1. Yeah. I'd play both of them.
Yeah. I'm in a huge, urgent rush to trade Zeke if I have him and Pollard, because I just want to play Pollard, and then I want to trade Zeke, and whoever I get in return of that trade, I want to start that guy with Pollard rather than having both Cowboy running backs as my starters. But I mean, I think it's gonna be a shootout. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun for Monday night to finish the week off.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hell of a game.
Yep.
The energy's gonna be in the building.
Yeah, definitely. I
mean, division rivals.
Oh, damn, that's here in Dallas, huh?
Yeah. Should we go?
I don't know if I'll be here. Or yeah, I will. No, you won't be here.
No, I'll be here.
Fuck, that's 2 days from now.
I know. I'm playing golf earlier that day, so
that shouldn't stop you.
Yeah, no.
The
prices of the tickets may though.
Yeah, I think you can get in the like standing part.
Yeah,
of the stadium
for pretty cheap.
But so maybe I might be down for that. But yeah, man, I'm excited for that one. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott both have a great game. I really do.
Yeah, so do I. And I think I'm starting Davonte.
I don't blame you at all.
I mean, I have to.
Yeah, Davonte Smith is.
I mean, if they're gonna be going off, I mean, Dallas is giving up the 5th most fantasy points to the receiver position through 2 games. They're gonna have to put up points. They're gonna have to throw the ball because the Cowboys are gonna put up points, especially if Dak Prescott's throwing it all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, Davonte Smith was targeted 7 times last week. He was targeted 8 times in week 1, 7 last week.
Yeah, the targets are there.
He just couldn't do much with those targets last week. Only 2 catches for 16 yards.
Right.
So
yeah, that's
a
rough outing.
He's playing 85% of the snaps or
against
whatever.
The Niners.
Yep, exactly.
Good D.
So I think you're right. I think he'll have more of a bounce back game this week against the Cowboys. I think it's a shootout, man. I think Dallas wins 37-30. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think Miles Sanders has a pretty decent week. I hate that I have to make that decision this week between him and Deandre Swift, because with all the Ravens out right up front, it makes it tough for me to bench Swift in that situation. But
yeah,
I think both of those guys are going to have pretty good weeks this week, and yeah, ultimately, I just think Dallas has the ball last. Dallas scores, with the momentum at home or whatever. So
yeah, I got the Cowboys 37-34.
Yep. Okay. I got them 37-30. So
it'll be a good game, especially Monday night.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm ready for it. Let's go, boys.
Definitely gonna be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we're done here.
Cool. Yeah, we'll wrap it up here. If you guys have any last minute sit or start questions for the Fair Shake team, obviously hit him up in the DMs, and he can give his takes. And tomorrow's gonna be a good week. And there's a lot of good matchups. We're in for a good week.
Yep, I can't wait, man. There's good. I like that the Chargers Chiefs is at 1, and then the Buccaneers game is at 4:30. So that's cool because those are.
Well, then you got Chargers Chiefs at the 12 o'clock spot. You got
Patriots Saints at the 1 o'clock.
And you got the Bucks Rams, and then you got Sunday night
Niners Packers. That's gonna be fun. I think the Niners
and then Monday night.
I think our perception of the Niners after this week is totally different. I think we're gonna start looking at them a whole lot more like we looked at them the year they went to the Super Bowl, which is just 2 years ago.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here, and we'll catch you in the next one.
All right, guys. Peace.